I, age 28, was married to Amy for 6 years, and together we had 3 children. Our sons are now in their tween and pre-tween years, while our daughter is a young grammar schooler. Amy tragically passed away 2 years ago after battling cancer. Her illness lasted for over a year, and she received a terminal diagnosis 8 months before her passing. During her final months, I helped care for Amy at home, with support from her family, including her mother, 4 siblings, and even her grandparents. Amy's death appeared peaceful, but revelations from her twin sister, Ivy, shed light on a distressing truth. According to Amy's diary, which she kept before her death, she had been subjected to distressing treatment from my parents. They had pressured her to write letters to our children, urging them to accept another mother figure soon after her passing. Amy was instructed to convey to our kids that she wanted them to embrace my next wife not just as a stepmother but as their new mother. Furthermore, my parents insisted that she tell the children to prompt me to find a new partner within a few months of her death, claiming it was her dying wish. Amy resisted these demands, feeling they were not her true sentiments, despite my parents' relentless hounding during their visits. In her diary, Amy recounted feeling distressed and ultimately being labeled a terrible mother and a selfish person by my parents for not complying with their wishes. Discovering these revelations left me seething with anger, particularly as my parents had previously urged me to date and remarry, insisting it was what Amy would have wanted. Their actions had caused undue stress to Amy during her final weeks, and their attempts to manipulate our children's perceptions and emotions were unforgivable. I confronted my parents, expressing my disgust at their behavior, and demanded they stay away from me and my children. Their refusal to acknowledge any wrongdoing only fueled my fury, leading me to visit their house in person to confront them. I was unaware that they had friends over at the time, but I felt compelled to reveal the truth about their actions. Despite their attempts to defend themselves via text, claiming I should be angry at Amy instead, I stood firm in condemning their reprehensible behavior and refused to tolerate any further contact with them. When I chose to confront my parents about their actions, they swiftly turned defensive, insisting that I had no right to embarrass them in front of their friends. My siblings also chimed in, suggesting that I should have refrained from confronting our parents, as they were supposedly acting in my best interests. I couldn't help but challenge their perspective, asking if they believed our parents would have treated me the same way if I were in Amy's position. They couldn't deny the disparity in treatment, acknowledging that our parents wouldn't have subjected me to such harassment. Am I the idiot in this situation? Absolutely not. Not only did my parents manipulate my dying spouse, but they also involved our children in their manipulative schemes. The idea that I should feel compelled to enter into another relationship to fulfill their desires is absurd. My priority is to do what is best for myself and my children, regardless of their expectations. The fact that my parents resorted to such manipulative tactics is deeply troubling. It begs the question of whether they have someone in mind whom they will try to force upon me in the future. If it were up to me, I would cut ties with my parents permanently and ensure that my children are kept far away from their toxic influence. Their actions are unforgivable, and I refuse to subject myself or my children to any further emotional abuse. The responses from others echo my sentiments, emphasizing the severity of my parents' actions and the importance of cutting ties with them. It's clear that their behavior has caused irreparable damage, not only to our family dynamic but also to the memory of my late wife, Amy. Moving forward, I am committed to protecting myself and my children from any further harm inflicted by my parents and their misguided intentions. I have a bit of a routine when it comes to ordering takeout. It's not uncommon for me to indulge in takeout meals about 4 to 5 times a week. However, I've managed to keep my spending in check by establishing agreements with a select few Chinese restaurants. Through these agreements, I bypass the standard delivery apps and instead arrange my orders directly with the restaurants via chat. This method not only eliminates the need for tips and taxes but also secures discounted prices for me. Recently, my roommate found herself in a situation where she was running low on groceries. She turned to me and requested that I add something to my next takeout order for her, promising to reimburse me for the cost. While I understood her predicament, I hesitated. You see, my arrangement with these restaurants is somewhat exclusive, and I didn't feel comfortable breaking the agreement I had in place with them. Besides, Involving my roommate in this setup felt like a breach of trust towards the restaurant owners. When I politely declined my roommate's request, she seemed taken aback and somewhat distant afterward. However, I stood my ground, believing I was making the right decision. Little did I know, my decision sparked quite the controversy, not just between my roommate and me but also online, where accusations of tax evasion and selfishness were thrown my way. Amidst the storm of criticism, I decided to take proactive steps to address the situation. I reached out to the restaurants I frequently patronized and explained the circumstances. To my relief, they reassured me that it was perfectly acceptable for me to order on behalf of my roommate. They even extended the option for her to place orders herself if she downloaded WeChat, a platform they preferred for communication. Although my roommate declined the WeChat option, I assured her that she could still rely on me to order for her without any hiccups. Furthermore, I shed light on the benevolence of these restaurant owners. Despite my no longer being a student, they continued to offer their services to accommodate my situation. Their generosity wasn't limited to just me. They often provided free meals to struggling Chinese international students and others in need. On another note, my life saw a significant change with the arrival of our first child last year. My wife, who has been on extended maternity leave, and I have embraced this new chapter, seeking assistance from a nanny to navigate the joys and challenges of parenthood. We hired a nanny to assist us with our baby and household chores. She stays in our guest house. For our anniversary, I planned a trip for just the two of us to reconnect and have some quality time away from our son. While she was excited about the trip, she expressed slight concern about leaving our son behind. Her mother would come down to babysit with the nanny to ease her worries. During the trip, things went smoothly initially. My wife and I were able to relax and reconnect, with our son close by whenever we missed him. We would take turns caring for him to give each other breaks. However, on the last day, the nanny requested that we take the night shift as she had met someone who asked her out on a date. This request contradicted our arrangement, which aimed to give us a break from nightly duties. Despite her attempts to guilt my wife, we stood firm, and she looked after our child. Upon our return, my wife overheard the nanny on the phone contemplating quitting over the situation, claiming that we were hindering her future. My wife believes we made a mistake, and while I acknowledge it may have been foolish, ultimately, it was within the bounds of our arrangement, and she was compensated accordingly. To clarify, she was paid double her usual daily rate since she typically works 8-hour shifts, equating to 16 hours of work daily during our vacation. Some have criticized us for expecting the nanny to work without a break during our vacation, but it's essential to recognize that people deserve time off from work, even if they're helping us with childcare. Expecting her to work continuously for 7 days straight was unfair, especially when she only asked for one night off to have some personal time. In retrospect, perhaps our expectations were unreasonable, and we should have been more considerate of the nanny's needs. However, it's essential to remember that everyone deserves time off, even those providing assistance. The situation described highlights significant issues within the household dynamic, particularly regarding the treatment of the nanny and the distribution of responsibilities between the partners. Decision to take the nanny on their vacation without arranging adequate breaks for her is deeply problematic. It shows a lack of consideration for the nanny's well-being and implies an expectation of round-the-clock availability without proper rest. This exploitative behavior not only disregards the nanny's rights but also reflects poorly on values as an employer. Additionally, the fact that OP's husband was unaffected by the situation and did not intervene further compounds the issue. Moreover, the portrayal of husband as detached and unsupportive is concerning. While juggles numerous responsibilities, including homeschooling and caring for their infant, her husband appears disconnected from her struggles. Despite being aware of the family's challenges, he fails to offer meaningful assistance or emotional support upon returning home. His request for the children to go to bed early solely for his own relaxation demonstrates a lack of empathy and understanding of the demands placed on OP. Refusal to comply with her husband's request is entirely justified, as it prioritizes the well-being of their children over his desire for personal relaxation. However, his reaction to her decision, characterized by frustration and avoidance, is immature and indicative of a broader pattern of disregard for her needs. Overall, the household dynamic described reflects a lack of empathy, communication, and mutual respect between Op and her husband. Addressing these underlying issues requires open and honest dialogue, as well as a willingness to acknowledge and address each other's concerns. By fostering a more equitable and supportive environment, both partners can work together to create a healthier and happier family life. Allowing a child to dictate the family's bedtime routine sets a troublesome precedent. Their constant requests for water, stories, and bathroom trips every few minutes can disrupt the household. It's imperative for him to learn independence and adhere to a structured bedtime schedule. Despite living in luxury with a partner who caters to his every whim, he should be capable of going to bed early in his own space without disturbance. This scenario bears resemblance to my own experience with my ex-husband, who futilely attempted to replace me. Meanwhile, I'm celebrating a decade of marriage with my devoted husband, while my ex is navigating his latest divorce. Perhaps it's time to reassess your relationship and avoid subjecting yourself to any further challenges with someone who fails to meet your standards. As for the dinner incident, you're unequivocally not to blame. The situation is rather amusing, truth be told. No responsible adult, especially one nearing middle age, should engage in disparaging remarks towards a teenager. Kudos to you for confidently defending yourself with such witty comebacks. It's likely that his girlfriend didn't end the relationship due to your assertiveness, but rather his own lack of maturity. Unkindness, especially towards someone significantly younger, is a glaring character flaw. Your cousin received a well-deserved reality check. If he can dish it out but can't handle a rebuttal, that's entirely on him. Your ability to think on your feet and stand up for yourself is commendable. Melody's decision to end the relationship likely stemmed from witnessing his inability to handle a simple retort. Congratulations to her for recognizing his true colors and making the wise choice to move on. Your confidence and quick wit are admirable traits that shouldn't be overshadowed by the misguided actions of others. Moreover, it's essential to address the situation regarding your husband's expectations for early bedtime. While his request may stem from a desire for relaxation, it's crucial to maintain consistency in parenting decisions. Allowing exceptions to the established routine can disrupt the child's understanding of boundaries and expectations. While empathy for your husband's exhaustion is understandable, compromising the children's bedtime for his comfort sets an unfavorable precedent. Additionally, his failure to acknowledge your own exhaustion and the challenges you face with your family's recent hardships reflects a lack of consideration. Open communication is key in resolving such conflicts, and it's essential to express your concerns and establish boundaries regarding parental responsibilities. In conclusion, maintaining a harmonious family dynamic requires mutual respect, understanding, and effective communication. Your assertiveness and ability to advocate for yourself are commendable, and it's essential to uphold these principles in addressing conflicts within the family. While challenges may arise, approaching them with patience, empathy, and clear communication can lead to positive resolutions and strengthen familial bonds.